video, we're going to learn what a coordinate plane is, some of the vocabulary that goes along with it, and how to make one. So evidence-wise, at the end of this, you should be able to make your own coordinate plane. We're going to make connections between the number lines and coordinate planes that we've been using previously. And we're going to show that we understand all of the parts of a coordinate plane by making sure we label our coordinate planes. So we'll go through each of the parts, and then the suggested practice problem at the end will just be to make your own coordinate plane. So what is a coordinate plane, first of all? Well, a coordinate plane is formed by having two number lines. We're going to have a horizontal number line called the x-axis and a vertical number line called the y-axis. And what we're going to do is we're going to line them up on top of each other like so.
Mind-blowing.
So we now have two number lines stacked on top of each other. This is called a coordinate plane. The important things to remember is that the x-axis is the horizontal one, the one that's going flat. The y-axis is the vertical one. That's the one that's going up and down. One way that we can remember these two is if we think of the x-axis as being a dead guy on the ground. He's got x's for eyes, and then the y-axis is his friend standing above him going, "Why?" That can sometimes help you remember which one's which. I'm sure you have other ways as well that you may have learned previously, but that's the one that I like to use. So on this coordinate plane, we would need to make sure that we label our axes. So we know that this one is the x-axis, and our vertical one here is the y-axis. And there is one more point about the coordinate plane that I want to make, and that is the origin. The origin is the point at which your two axes cross, and that should always be right here, where both number lines have a value of 0. Now eventually when we talk about ordered points, this is actually the point 0, 0. But we're not going to worry about that just yet. We will get to it. But that is the origin right there where the two axes cross. Let's talk about scaling next. On the previous number line, you will have noticed that there were some numbers on each of our number lines. That's the same as if they were normal number lines, but when we make a coordinate plane, most of the time we're going to have to do it manually. So the easiest way to do this is to make each box on a coordinate plane, or on a piece of graph paper at least, just one. And that'll be true if we're going up, or if we're going across. We'll just make both of those one. So if we have our origin here, which as we mentioned is going to be 0, we can make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we could keep going. I'm just going to go up to 5 for there. Going up on the y-axis, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again we could keep going up if we wanted to. The part where it gets a little bit trickier is the negative sides. Just like on a normal number line, we have our positives over here. We can also have negatives over here. So this would be -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. Notice that as I've been writing these, they've all been on the lines rather than in a box. That's going to be really important so that you don't get confused as to which value is 1 or 2 or 3 or -4 or -5. It'll help you stay organized. Last but not least, we need to label the negative side of our y values. And again, we'll go down to -5. So, that is how we make a scale. It's nothing too bad at all. Now, when you get really good at this, you can do something a little bit more fancy with your scale. You don't always have to make each box just one. I would suggest doing that for now if you're just learning how to make these. But when you get real good at this, you can go up by any number you want. For example, if we wanted to go up by 5s, we could do that. We just have to make sure that our scale is consistent and not doing anything weird. And that can sometimes be a little bit tricky. But we just need to be careful about it, and we can use eventually whatever scale we want. For right now, again, I would suggest just using a scale of 1. Each box is just 1. It'll help you stay organized. So the final thing to mention about coordinate planes are the quadrants. If you look at our coordinate plane, it's broken into 4 parts. We have quadrant 1 over here, there we go. We have quadrant 2 over here, quadrant 3, and then 4, as this arrow shows. They are going around counterclockwise, starting in the top right. And the reason that we care about these quadrants is that eventually, when we talk again about how to plot a point on a coordinate plane, it'll tell us something about what the x and y values are. If you don't entirely know what those are yet, that's okay. We'll talk about them very, very soon. But essentially, both the x and y values here are going to be positive. In quadrant 2, the x values are going to be negative, and the y values are going to be positive. Quadrant 3, everything's negative. And quadrant 4 is kind of the reverse of quadrant 2, in that x is positive and y is going to be negative. That's all that we really need to know about quadrants for right now. So, things to remember. A coordinate plane is a combination of a vertical number line and a horizontal number line. The x-axis is always going to be horizontal, the y-axis is always going to be vertical, and the point where those two axes cross is going to be called the origin. Again, this is 0, 0 in terms of a coordinate point, in terms of an ordered pair. We haven't talked about those yet, and that's okay. Make sure your scale is consistent. For right now, keep it 1 to 1. Make sure both up and across are just 1. But when you get good at this, you can change it. Just make sure that it stays consistent. Finally, there are the 4 quadrants. For right now, you just need to remember that there are 4 of them. They go counterclockwise. They're going to help you determine whether a point's x and y values are positive or negative. That's all you need to know about quadrants for right now. Suggested practice problems are real simple for today. All you're going to do is make your own coordinate plane. I would very much suggest using a sheet of graph paper for this, though if you are one of my students, you can use Kami to do that as well. Do what you need to. Please remember to make sure you label your coordinate plane as well. Make sure we know which ones are the x and y values, which ones, what your scale is. Make sure it's consistent. Good luck.